Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for American Animals. I'm Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Had to be here as a crow-looking bird creature.
All right. Also joining us, Nicholas Pryor.
I just want to let it be known that I don't touch any librarians.
Great. All right. Well, please be aware that we will be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot, themes, and ending of the film. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. So with that, let's jump into our discussion of American Animals, directed by Bart Layton, written by Bart Layton, starring Evan Peters, Barry Keoghan, Blake Jenner, Jared Abrahamson, and Dowd. 4 young men mistake their lives for a movie and attempt one of the most audacious heists in US history. So Nick, you recommended this one that we should do a spoiler cast for. What did you think and why? Why is this one?
Why? I was flicking through Hulu one day and I saw it there and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll watch it. It's I guess a documentary.
It's a docu-drama, I guess.
Yeah, it's apparently the director's other film is like it as well. I guess it's a film, but interspersed through it, it includes interviews from the people that actually committed the crime and were involved, but it's included in a way that it's almost part of the movie, not like a dramatized documentary where it cuts to it in a way. It's hard to explain the way it's edited together, the way it's seamless in a way.
There's literally a scene where the real life character appears randomly in the car next to the car. Evan Peters, who's portraying him, and then says, "Is this the way it happened?" He's like, "Oh no, that's why he remembers it." So it's weird how it's all.
Yeah,
well, that's the one example of that though in the entire film.
Yeah.
Everything else is like talking heads.
There's another time where someone
where they drive past him in the street and the actual guy's standing on the road and he looks at himself.
Yeah, and the time they rewind where the guy's like, oh, he was actually an older guy and had a real good suit on or whatever, and it rewinds and changes the actor playing the guy who hands in the number to call or whatever. So there's a few examples of like injecting the interviews or people where the plot of the movie has a very like unreliable narrator element to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like the cast all play the characters really well. Like I think that's what really it stands out to me that I really like it is the way that it's edited and just the acting itself and I guess it's not aggrandized. It's not like an Ocean's 11 kind of heist movie. It's more down to earth and realistic in a way as well, being a documentary kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
it's not glamorous.
No, it's definitely not. Dylan, what do you think of American Animals?
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. As you're saying, cross docudrama or whatever the hell we're calling it. I think the cast is really good. I enjoy Evan Peters and basically everything he does, so that's always a bunch of fun. I liked the problem I had with this movie, to put it out there, is I enjoyed everything up until the heist the most, I guess is the thing. Like, I definitely enjoyed the meeting everyone and like what led them to do the crime in the first place, and then I found the last half hour or so with the crime and with the events following it to be the least interesting for whatever reason. I was just like, I wasn't sure what. I could have used more of a dive into the documentary element towards the end of the movie to dive into the, like, why these people, how do they feel about it now, like, a bit more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I never really got a good idea by the end of it of how these people feel now about it, other than the fact that they're like, yeah, we're out of jail now, so fine.
I didn't get that. I felt at the end that they, especially the main character, I guess the Barry Keoghan character, was felt all very remorseful that they had done it. Like, it's just the way.
See, I didn't get anything from that, and then I googled the movie when I finished it to find like interviews with the people or whatever, and apparently all 3 of them, when they were interviewed after being in jail for a couple of years and asked like would they do it again, apparently all 3 of them were like, yeah, they would do it again. Like, I found reading this New York Times or somewhere like that, Washington Post or somewhere, someone that did an article on them while I was in jail saying that all three were very unremorseful and were speaking about the crime as if they were so bored with their lives, or like didn't really like the sort of trajectory it was going on, which you very much get from Evan Peters' character, the way he sort of acts and whatever. It was less about pulling off the crime. It was more about just either we get away with the crime and then we can go live on the fucking beach somewhere, or if we get caught, then sure, prison sounds more exciting than the life that's set up for me at that point. And I found that more interesting and like more delving into who they were or how they was thinking then. And I felt like the end of the movie could have used some of that. Like I felt like I could have got some of that information towards the end of the movie.
It certainly gives off a different vibe that I had got towards that I got from the end of the movie as well.
I don't think they were remorseful about the actual robbery. I think they were obviously very remorseful about how they treated the librarian. That's more than what I. That's more what I. They didn't care that they stole the books or whatever, but how they did it, I think, is the thing they kind of were remorseful about. Also interesting watching that those ending credit scenes were on it of the how they're all doing in their lives and everything is like they seem to be doing pretty fine.
They all have Twitter accounts, by the way. I found
pretty
them all.
Fine, considering they're all ex-cons. But I guess that's a white privilege thing where they can go on after something like this and have a perfectly ordinary life. Someone's back at university studying filmmaking. Another one's a writer, a working writer. That kind of stuff.
And the biggest dropkick of them all, Evan Peters is one. He's the one back at school studying for something else.
It was an interesting film. Obviously, interesting way to tell it. Also, I think having their parents in there was also quite, kind of affecting at certain points. Like them kind of being upset about the whole situation of sort of, it's kind of affected them deeply and felt like they obviously failed to a certain degree. These kids
I don't understand why my kids have done this.
That kind of thing. But yeah, like Dylan said, I enjoyed everything up to the actual heist. I think that heist sequence was just hard to watch.
Hard to watch in what way do you think?
It was pretty tense.
I think it worked for me in that because it really sold the tension of the moment. And
I know it works. I just
the anxiety afterwards, after the heist and whatnot, which Dylan obviously feels different, but it really ramped up the drama for me as well.
Yeah.
I felt it was kind of comedic once they dropped the books and were throwing up over the front of the van and everything. So I don't know.
But I was tense. I think that's a way of showing it what it would be really like for people. So much adrenaline and not being professionals, and I guess it's a way to take away the fantasy of what people think a heist would be like, where you and a bunch of fucking other guys think you're planning it out down to the T, but in the moment, they're just bumbling idiots.
They're definitely not trained professionals. Them having to search for the key. She wouldn't have the key on her. How did you not know she had the key on her the entire time?
I don't know.
All this planning and didn't check where the key was kept.
Well, in high-stress situations, people don't think clearly.
No, but well, obviously if they had a plan that to check where the key was, they would know beforehand, but yeah.
No, of a funny side note, actually. You know how in the movie they show he didn't get the taser?
Yeah.
So when I looked it up, apparently they did order the taser, but it turned up after they did the heist.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you just wait till you got the taser then? Who knows?
Fucking Amazon back then. That was fast.
The other thing I like too is you never actually really know if he went to Amsterdam to meet these people or whether... They add the element of doubt. They allude to that
afterwards.
The other members of the heist don't know if that's true because they just got his word for it.
There's only that one guy questioning him, to be fair, which is the odd one out. Whatever that guy's name was, the jock dude, or that's what I just think of.
Chaz Allen. It was
Chaz.
Yeah.
And it's very much like the other three are, and down, bros for life type attitude, and that would have
No,
believed
they
each
kinda
other. And he's
questioned
the
it
one
as
who
well.
he's the one who's like, I don't even know if he went there.
I mean, yeah. Interesting seeing him, the first one to turn on them, especially in that car after the whole plan was flawed from the start when you're going to take this super rare book to try and get it appraised. Like the person who's getting appraised wouldn't automatically picked up, hey, there's only one of these, and this is, especially that painting book, which there's only one of, right? The book of the bird ones.
They're all one-offs. That's why they're worth so much.
You can't and people know where these things are, but yeah. Pretty interesting. Was there anything else you guys want to talk about?
It's just I'm keen to see his other documentary drama thing, The Imposter from 2012, I believe it is. That's about
I want to watch that missing. Too.
Yeah. But
definitely.
it's certainly a very unique way of presenting the story documentary kind of thing, which I think it definitely worked for me a lot better than it worked for you two, it seems.
No, yeah. I think you gave it like a 9 on Trakt.
I did, yeah.
Probably give it like a.
I gave it a 7.
Yeah. Another thing is like I felt like the police got them like super quick, like on very little.
In reality,
evidence.
It took months, apparently. So
yeah, but yeah, obviously it's portrayed as, and I think the other thing was them like coping with the aftermath of that, and them all like kind of struggling to continue to live their lives normally.
Yeah.
After that event, especially Evan Peters and
well, it's definitely the I guess the constant stress of constantly looking over your shoulder, knowing they're coming for you at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, and like the guilt. And
in some ways, I feel like I could have got to that. We could have got past the heist sooner, and then I would have liked to have actually seen a little bit more time spent, like after the heist before they got caught, because it definitely is like does feel like a 5-minute scene. You know, like it kind of just happens when. In reality, they did a lot apparently in the months before they actually got caught. And I don't mean like just show me what they was doing for the no sake. I mean, there's a lot of interesting sort of character study stuff you could do there. You could build up how the anxiety builds between them, and you could even add in some conversations they didn't have because it's a fucking movie. Who cares? Like just to show like the tension. Were they remorseful in those moments? Were they not remorseful? Could you have added a conversation about them discussing the librarian and worrying about her? You know, like you could have added some conversations in that time period that would have given me what I felt was missing from the movie. Yeah, in that time period. Yeah,
I guess in that way it well, yeah, I don't know. From the extra materials that you read, that they weren't really remorseful at all. So, is adding that in
super interesting.
a failing? Is that
no? But would that be a
failing of a documentary then?
Then you could add a conversation to show that they're not remorseful.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Just add something to show that a lot more than what they did, because I just don't feel like by the end of the movie. You just feel like they did their time. To me, just watching the movie, it ends and I feel like they just did their time and then they walked out the door, and kind of to a degree with what Ash was saying, because of their white, rich, upper class fucking privilege, they literally just roll back into their lives, and it's like, okay, like, did they care? Did they not care? You know, like, I just got nothing from the end of it. It just kind of seems like they go to jail and they get on with their lives. I'm like, okay, well, has this affected anyone? Like, what is the actual long-term ramifications of this? Is it really nothing?
One other thing I want to note is that they actually had the interview with the librarian at the end too.
Yeah, that was interesting.
She still works there.
She still works there.
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine that it'd happen every day.
No, but
it's someone working at a server.
Obviously, she looks quite elderly in the film. I think maybe Dowd looks maybe a little bit older.
This only happened in
2004.
Yeah, so like 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. By the time I got out, 20 years.
Yeah.
I think it's 2017. The film, I believe.
Yeah, so like a decade and a half. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, she doesn't. At the end of the movie, she doesn't look that old. So
no, yeah,
no.
Yeah.
She looks older with the actress portraying her than she probably did at that time in reality, I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, let us know on Twitter what you thought of American Animals. You can find us all on Twitter by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, or you can let us know in our Discord by going to explosionnetwork.com/Discord. You can leave us a review on Twitter, on Apple Podcasts, or on Podchaser. If you liked this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support and buy us a coffee. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.